The Constitution of India, Preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution.
Welcome back all my dear 6th standard children. I hope all of you are getting used to waking up early, right? Because waking up early, getting involved in some sort of physical activities, all these will definitely contribute to a healthy body system, right? So waking up early is definitely the first step to success, because early morning contains the most energy of all hours of a day. So such habits will definitely contribute to your health, wealth and wisdom. So children, start the day right and end it in the same way. Okay. We live in a planet full of life where plants, animals, human beings, other organisms, weather, landscape, we all work together to form a bubble of life, isn't it? So often we can see like small creatures like flies, mosquitoes being consumed by frog. In turn, the frog is attacked by a snake. And we can also see snake being attacked by an eagle or vulture. So this cycle goes on, and this cycle has to go on for all organisms to live in this planet. So how can we live in a harmony without disturbing other organisms or fellow beings? What is our responsibility in maintaining a healthy relationship to live harmoniously with our fellow beings? We are going to study about all this in our new chapter, that is Living in Harmony. Shall we move into the chapter? Look at the picture that is given in your textbook. Yes, it's an aquarium, right? You can see lots of fishes in that aquarium. Now can you tell me children, are these fishes happy in this aquarium? Are they happy? Are they really happy? Where do you usually see fishes? In ponds, right? They look very happy in ponds, isn't it? When compared to aquarium, the fishes in ponds seem quite happy. Why is it like that? What are the factors which make fishes happy in a pond rather than in an aquarium? Can you tell me? Yes, they get sunlight, air, lots of soil is there in the pond. Small creatures are there in the pond for them to consume. Then aquatic plants are there in the pond. So these are some of the factors which make the fishes happy in a pond rather than in an aquarium. So now we are going to classify these factors into two types. One is biotic, the other one is abiotic. Children, I have classified all the factors which we discussed into biotic and abiotic. So what are the biotic factors? Aquatic plants, isn't it? They are living. Likewise, small creatures that we find in ponds. So these two are biotic factors, whereas air, water, soil and sunlight are abiotic factors, isn't it? So these factors make the fishes happy in a pond rather than in an aquarium. Okay, so in this chapter we are going to combine everything, that is biotic, abiotic, living organisms. All these are combined together, which we call it as ecosystem. So in this chapter we are going to discuss about the ecosystem and the major factors in ecosystem. Okay. Look at the next picture which is given in your textbook. The title is In Unison. What is the meaning of in unison? ഒത്തുചേർന്ന്. Okay. So, in the picture, look at the picture, observe the picture. Now, looking at the picture, tell me, are there only living things there? You have to classify all organisms. You can see many organisms like the deer, worm, snake, fox. Many organisms are there. Now you have to classify the organisms, the factors, that is the relying factors. Which are the relying factors? Biotic and abiotic. So we are going to tabulate the different organisms and the relying factors using a table which is given in your textbook. Now hold a pencil with you. You have to mark all these in the textbook itself. Okay. Now we are going to read one by one. What is the first organism? Fox. And what are the relying factors? You can note it down as I say. Okay. So the biotic factors will be rabbit, chicken. And what are the abiotic factors? We have already tabulated here. Water, air, sunlight and soil. So the next organism is worm. What are the biotic factors for worm? Plants. And what are the abiotic factors? The same factors as we have noted down here. Soil, water, air and sunlight. Deer. What are the biotic factors required for the deer to live or exist in this planet? Yes, plants. And what are the abiotic factors? Soil, water, air and sunlight. We will note down the next organism as snake. What does snake depend on? It depends on frogs. So you note it down in biotic column. You can note it down as frogs. And what are the abiotic factors? Soil, water, air and sunlight. Children, have you noted down all the points in the tabular column itself? Yes, you can do this in the textbook itself. Now, we are going to analyze what is an ecosystem based on the organism and the relying factors like biotic and abiotic. Shall we move into the definition? Let's see what's given in your textbook. The natural surroundings in which an organism lives is called its habitat. We know that. The biotic and abiotic factors in the surroundings and their mutual relationship together form the ecosystem. So the biotic, abiotic factors and the organism and the mutual relationship between all the three, that is biotic, abiotic and the organism, is called as ecosystem. Okay. Now I hope you have understood what is an ecosystem. Now we will move to the next topic. Look at the pictures given in the textbook. Yes, there are 4 pictures. These are ecosystems. Now shall we name the ecosystems? I hope you have the pencil with you. We are going to note down all these ecosystems. What the first one is given for you, it is sacred groves, that is Kavaparambu. Okay. The next one is Greenland. You can note down forest, that is another ecosystem. River. Okay. Okay. So these are some of the ecosystems we have noted down. So all these are examples of ecosystem. So can you give examples for ecosystem? Yes. Kavaparambu, that is we call it as sacred groves. Okay. River, forest, a good garden. Okay. All these are ecosystems. So in our school, do we have an ecosystem? Yes, definitely. Lots of gardens are there around our school, right? A beautiful garden is also there for KG children, isn't it? All these are ecosystems. Why? We can see many organisms there. You can see frog, you can see insects, butterflies. They are all living in a mutual harmony. So definitely these are all ecosystems, isn't it? Children, now we have a short diary note of Ammu. Okay, Ammu is a girl just like you. Okay, she has written a note in her diary. We are going to read that note. Do you want to read that? Yes, we'll go. As it was noon, the bottom of the pond could be seen clearly. Yes, definitely. Noon time, the water is much more clear. We watched with interest various kinds of fishes swimming in water. Some fishes were feeding on tiny plants in the water. Of course, there are tiny plants in water. Suddenly, a grasshopper fell into the water. Tup! A viral fish sprang up from the bottom of the pond and swallowed it. Yes, you can see a fish swallowing its food. Soon it returned and hid under a stone. From the hole on one side of the pond came out a water snake and it caught a frog. So many of us were scared to see this. It was interesting to watch a school of fish. What is the meaning of school of fish? Group of fish, okay, swimming along together. When a big fish came to catch them, they disappeared behind the algae in the corner of the pond. How many such factors are there in the pond? Water, sand, stone, air, algae, water plants, fish, frog and water snake are some of them. So these are the factors which we find in the pond. We never thought that the pond had such a variety of things to be seen and understood. So children, Ammu has given a beautiful description of an ecosystem, that is a pond. A pond is obviously an ecosystem because it has got lots of biotic and abiotic factors in that. And not only that, the organisms which rely on these biotic factors are mutually dependent, right? They depend on each other to exist in this planet. So I hope ecosystem is clear for you. Suppose you are visiting an ecosystem. You are going from your school, they are planning to take you to an ecosystem existing nearby. What are the plans you will do? See, such a plan is given in your textbook, go through it. The first plan is, yes, you will arrange the time and venue. Where you want to go, what time you want to go, which day, that you will plan. After that, you will arrange for a transport, right? And a guide also along with you, maybe a teacher, right? So these are the plans you will make. After that, what you will do? Yes, you go and visit the ecosystem, but as you are doing a school tour, it has to be recorded, right? So how are you going to record it? All of you will sit together, draw charts about the ecosystem which you visited, make tabular columns, tabulate or record all the organisms, biotic and abiotic factors which were there in that particular ecosystem, right? For that, what all things do you need? You need charts, you need tables, isn't it? So all these you will make. After that, what will you do? All of you will sit and analyze, and one day you will present your short note or summary of whatever you have done or you have seen in that ecosystem, and you are going to do a presentation in front of the class. We would have done that if we had live classes. Okay, no problem. You can go through all these in your, which is given in your textbook. Okay, now we'll move to the next topic. Children, we all have seen snakes, right? Usually we see snakes, that is a rattlesnake, cherapampu. We see these snakes swallowing a frog, right? What to do? Pathetic, but snakes have to live. In turn, have you seen what is the frog consuming? Usually in paddy fields we see frogs pointing out their long tongues, slimy tongues, and eating the small creatures like flies, mosquitoes, isn't it? In turn, what do these flies, grasshoppers, insects do? They feed on worms. And what do worms depend on? They depend on the green plants. So this is a food cycle which keeps on going, and it has to be balanced too. In the next topic, we are going to discuss about the food cycle. Shall we move? Look at the food cycle that is given in your textbook. You can see grass. Grass is consumed by grasshopper, and grasshopper is eaten by frog, and frog is eaten by snake. This is a relationship which we call it as food chain. Okay, it is a food chain. Likewise, many food chains are there. Look at the pictures that is given in your textbook. You can make many food chains. Yes, using these pictures, we can make many food chains, which we are going to do that. And look at the illustration given in the textbook. Yes, hold a pencil with you. We are going to complete this illustration. Grass is consumed by deer. Deer is eaten by lion. Next, dash is consumed by grasshopper. So what will you write there? Note it down. Grass. Grass is eaten by grasshopper. Grasshopper is consumed by, you should write frog. Frog is in turn attacked by snake. So the next one. Dash is eaten by worm. What do worms eat? Note it down, children. Worms eat plants. So the first box you should write plants. Plants are being consumed by worm. Worm is consumed by a fowl, which is a fox. And fowl is eaten by a tiger. So we will fill the next column. That is the first box. Shall we write grass? So note it down, grass. Grass is eaten by we will note down as rabbit. Grass is eaten by a rabbit. Rabbit is eaten by a tiger. And tiger is attacked by lion. So all these are food chains. Okay? Children, now look at all these food chains. Look at the initial levels of the food chains. What is the meaning of initial level? The first box in all the food chains. Just verify that. You can see grass, green plants, grass or green plants. So it is either grass or green plants, isn't it? So they are herbivores. So initial levels are usually herbivores. Now look at the top levels or the last level. Lion, tiger, snake or eagle. So these are all carnivores, right? They depend on the flesh of other animals. So the initial levels are herbivores, the top levels are carnivores, and the intermediate, that is the middle levels may either be herbivores or carnivores, that is omnivores. So we have classified the food chain into three. The initial level is herbivore, the top level is carnivore, and the intermediate level is omnivores. It can be herbivores and carnivores. Okay? Now look at the illustration that is given in your textbook. It's a major illustration where grass, you can see grass. Grass is consumed by rabbit. It is also consumed by goat. It is consumed by worm, and it is consumed by grasshopper. You can see the connection there. In turn, the rabbit is eaten by lion, tiger and human beings, whereas goat is also consumed by lion, tiger and human beings. In turn, you can see a deer being consumed by lion and tiger. And when you come down, you can see fowl eats human, attacks human. And worm is eaten by fowl, frog and calotes. Calotes means ond, chameleon. Okay? Grasshopper is again attacked by calotes, frog and fowl. Frog is eaten by snake. Snake is eaten by an eagle. So in this illustration, we can note that there are many food chains, isn't it? We can make many food chains out of this one single illustration. Such an illustration we call it as food web. So what is a food web? A food web is an illustration which contains lots of food chains. Okay, so I hope you have understood what is a food chain and what is a food web. Okay, in nature we can see many food webs, isn't it? Nature is full of food webs. Children, in a food chain we have seen that the initial level is occupied by plants or grass, that is herbivores. So these are often called as producers. They are called as producers. Why do we call them as producers? Because they produce food for all other living organisms that live in this planet, isn't it? How do they produce food? by the process called photosynthesis. I hope you are aware what is photosynthesis, right? So these green plants, they produce food through the process of photosynthesis. Hence, they have a name called producers. How about the other organisms in the food chain? They all depend on these green plants, that is producers, and hence they are called as consumers. Consume means eat. Okay? So, we have two terms here, producers and consumers. Children, I have drawn a food chain here on the board. Look at the food chain. Grass. Grass is consumed by grasshopper. Grasshopper is eaten by frog. Frog is eaten by a fox. And fox is attacked either by a lion or by a tiger. Now, we have understood that the initial level is herbivore and the top level is a carnivore. And the intermediate level, that is grasshopper, frog, fox, they may be omnivores, either herbivore or carnivore, or both herbivore and carnivore. So, intermediate level is omnivore. We have also understood that the initial level always contains producers, and we have also understood that all the other levels in the food chain will always be a consumer, isn't it? Now tell me children, is the lion depending on the initial level or the producers? Does a lion or tiger depend on a producer, that is grass or green plants? Do they depend on the producers? Well, directly they don't depend, but indirectly, yes, they also depend on the producers, because lion is depending on the fox for its food, fox depends on the frog, frog lives only on the basis of small insects like grasshopper, and grasshopper's main food is grass. So, lion and tiger are indirectly depending the initial level, that is producers, even though they are not directly depending, isn't it? So I hope you have understood all the organisms in this ecosystem are mutually interdependent. Okay, they all depend on each other. Children, we all know that plants require nutrients to grow well. Usually we see plants fixed in the soil. Most of the nutrients that plants get is from the soil. They absorb nutrients from the soil. Our planet Earth is full of plants and trees. So much of nutrients there in the soil. Won't these nutrients cease to exist after some time? How are they getting balanced every time? Since long back, plants have been absorbing nutrients, right, from the soil. And how does this nutrient retained back in the soil? Have you ever thought of? Often we see during winter season or summer season, we see leaves falling off from the trees. What happens to these dried leaves? These dried leaves will decompose, isn't it? And they get mixed up with the soil and again change into manure, from where these plants are again getting nutrients. അല്ലേ? അങ്ങനെയല്ലേ സംഭവിക്കുന്നത്? പഴുത്ത ഇല വീഴുകയാണ്, മണ്ണുമായിട്ട് മിക്സായി ഡീകമ്പോസ് ആയിട്ട് വളമായി മാറി ആ വളത്തിലുള്ള വളക്കൂറ് വീണ്ടും ചെടികൾ വലിച്ചെടുക്കുന്നു. These plants are absorbing, keeping on absorbing nutrients. So it is a cycle. Again we see another cycle here, isn't it? So what is the main process here? Decomposition. The leaves have to decompose. Who is going to do that decomposition process? You will see. Observe the fallen leaves under a tree and write down the findings. There is a tabular column in your textbook. Take that tabular column, hold a pencil with you. We are going to note it down in the textbook itself. Leaf observed. A leaf which had fallen 1 or 2 days ago. What is the change in the leaf? It starts decaying, you can write. it starts decaying. So after 1 or 2 days you can see the leaf starts decaying. So you can note it down in the textbook. What happens to a leaf which fell several days ago? മാസങ്ങൾക്ക് മുമ്പ് വീണ ഇലയ്ക്ക് എന്ത് സംഭവിച്ചു? You can write down mixed with soil. Mixed with the soil. Now it has mixed with soil and it has changed into manure or nutrients for the living plants. Children, we have already learned what are microorganisms, right? So these microorganisms, what are microorganisms? Fungi, bacteria, virus, which are not visible for naked eyes, which can be seen only through microscope. Such organisms are called as microorganisms. Well, these microorganisms like fungi, bacteria, they act on these dead leaves or all the dead organisms, okay, and they will start decomposing process. So they are called as decomposers, okay. So what are decomposers? Microorganisms which live on dead plants and animals are called as decomposers, such as bacteria, fungi, etc. They decompose the dead plants and animals and change them into nutrients which are required for the living plants, okay. Microorganisms like bacteria and fungi, you can see the picture, fungus and bacteria, break organic remains and add them to the soil, so they are called as decomposers. The nutrients formed as a result of decomposition further become available for the growth of plants. So after decomposition, they change these matter into nutrients, and these nutrients are used by the for the growth of plants, okay. So you can see an illustration there where you see the interdependency of producers, consumers, decomposers and nutrients. And when you see that, you can see producers, they produce food and it is consumed by consumers. Consumers, they consume food and they fall down as dead remains, and these dead remains are decomposed, and after decomposition they change into nutrients. So this is an important illustration which you have to draw in the file. Children, the illustration we saw about is a cycle which happens in nature. What will happen when you intervene the nature? What is the meaning of intervening? Disturbing. What happens when you disturb the nature cycle? What happens? We'll see. Children, look at the picture that is given in the textbook. It is leveling of lands and filling up of paddy fields. So what happens when you do all these? These are some of the activities which cause disturbance in the cycle of nature. We are causing an intervention here. We are intervening the cycle of nature. That is why we are coming across so many natural calamities like earthquakes, tsunami, floods. We come across these a lot now these days, isn't it? All these are because of the intervention, human intervention in nature. So all these activities contribute to all the sorts of calamities that is happening to our planet. Based on some questions, we will analyze more about this. Which are the ecosystems destroyed by these activities? When we do such activities, which are the ecosystems that are getting disturbed? Write down farmlands, ponds, etc. are disturbed. What all organisms lose their habitat? What is a habitat? A habitat is a living place of an organism. So, which all organisms are losing habitats here? Fish, frogs, small plants, insects. Which organism would face scarcity of food? Children, I hope you are noting down. So, who is facing scarcity of food here? Snake, lion, tiger, isn't it? All these are facing scarcity of food. How do these activities affect the availability of abiotic factors necessary for the growth of plants? For example, you are filling up a paddy field. So how is the ecosystem disturbed there? ഒരു കൃഷിസ്ഥലം നമ്മൾ മണ്ണിട്ട് അടച്ച് മൂടുകയാണ്. We are going to construct a house there. So ഒരു കൃഷിഭാഗം മുഴുവൻ മണ്ണിട്ട് മൂടുമ്പോൾ what is happening there? Many organisms are losing their habitats there. ഒരു കൃഷിസ്ഥലത്ത് എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് ലിവിങ് ഓർഗാനിസംസ് കാണാറുണ്ട്? There will be snakes, there will be frogs, there will be insects, right? Birds will be there, big birds, small birds will be there. So all these are losing their habitats. Moreover, we are affecting them, we are disturbing the ecosystem. And because of this, what happens? Agriculture is getting reduced, isn't it? Our agriculture is coming down day by day. So all these are affecting the good cycle of nature. So all these type of human activities must be stopped, like deforestation, cutting of trees. All these have to be stopped to a maximum extent, so that we maintain this planet very well and hand it over to the next generation, isn't it? Children, I have completed this lesson. It's a very small lesson, so I am finishing it off in one class. We'll quickly move to let us assess. So find out the maximum number of food chains by including the organisms given below. So you can find out maximum food chain. It's an assignment. Do it by yourself in the files. Okay. Now Ruby has tabulated the various factors in pond as follows. Are there only suitable ones in each group? You have to find the mistake here. See, in producers, what are the things Ruby has listed? Algae, water lily, lotus, small fish. So in producers, small fish will not be there. It is a living organism. So you have to cross that. Consumers, water snake, crab, frog, varal. So water snake is not a consumer. Water snake usually consumes aquatic plants. Decomposers, bacteria, small fish, fungi. Bacteria and fungi are decomposers. Small fish is not a decomposer. So abiotic factors, water, air, sand and stones. All these are abiotic factors, and that column has been correctly tabulated. So the interdependence of the various factors in the ecosystem, you can make a food chain using all these producers, consumers, decomposers and abiotic factors. We can show how they are mutually interdependent. For example, algae. Algae, you can write the first initial level. Algae is taken by water snake. Water fish, after its death, it is consumed by or decomposed by bacteria and fungi. And for water, air, sand and stones are the abiotic factors for this required for this food chain. Explain how different organisms will be affected if a large mango tree is cut down. Suppose there is a large mango tree in your house. You are going to cut down that mango tree. So how is ecosystem affected here? So list out all the living organisms who are going to lose their habitat. What all things can you see in a mango tree? You can see flies, mosquitoes, worms, birds, crow, isn't it? All these will lose their habitat. Point number 1. Point number 2 is, when you cut a mango tree, you are also affected. You lose shade. The coolness of the house is lost, isn't it? You are losing a tree. Cutting a tree is very easy, but bringing up a tree requires quite a few number of years. At least 10 years you will require to bring up a tall tree. So you are losing the most valuable resource in your house, which is going to give you shade and which is going to be a habitat for lots of organisms. So the ecosystem is completely affected. The greenery of your house is lost. So all this you can write it on your own words, and do write the let us assess activities in your files. More questions will be sent to you through WhatsApp. I am completing this chapter. Take care children. Bye.